our series, Flipping the Script, featuring people on screen, on stage, and behind the scenes working to shine a spotlight on diversity. Enter Guy Nattiv, the Israeli filmmaker, won an Academy Award for the short film Skin in 2019. Now he's back directing the biographical drama Golda, about former Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir and her leadership during the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Let's take a look.
Today, the Egyptian and Syrian armies launched an offensive against Israel. Our enemies hoped to surprise the citizens of Israel on Yom Kippur.
Our troops are outnumbered 7-1.
If the Arabs reach Tel Aviv, Israel will be wiped off the map.
We're lucky enough to be joined on set now by Guy Nattiv. Thank you so much for being here. The movie comes out this week, right?
Yeah.
It is, Golda is one of those names you only need to say Golda and people know who you're talking about. But help us understand specifically what this movie focuses on and why it was so important to tell this story.
Well, it's basically a story, a war that shaped Israel in the 70s, and it's kind of the Vietnam of Israel. It's just a terrible war that we kind of like were surprised by an attack by Egypt in Syria, and Golda was in the front of all of it. I think this movie is you know, we are concentrating. It's almost like a magnifying glass on Golda and her isolation and how lonely she is around those misogynist commanders trying to navigate this tug of war and this horrible cost of life, and it's getting into her psyche, getting into her, under her skin, portraying those horrible 10 days.
I understand you were, what, 3 months old when this happened? You obviously probably don't remember it, but I'm sure for your family, is this a deeply personal story?
Oh, yeah. Every family in Israel has some kind of correlation to the war. It's uncle or father or somebody who died or, wounded or, yeah. So for Israelis, it's a very, very personal thing.
You got Helen Mirren to play the lead role. There's some Oscar buzz surrounding it. What did it mean to have her play this role?
She's phenomenal. I mean, she's one of the best actors of our time, but she's also a true mensch. She's just an amazing human being to work with. So humble, so affectionate, and super smart.
Golda Meir, was the first female prime minister, and now 50 years later, still the only female prime minister of Israel. Why is now the time to tell this story?
Well, I think it has a lot of meanings to a lot of Israelis, because right now we see the government in Israel, the blindness of the government led by Benjamin Netanyahu, diminishing the judicial system. So we feel it's like the Yom Kippur of democracy in Israel again. And 50 years later, you see the same mistakes, the same things happened again and again. And 50 years of generation that were no one talked about this war. It was kind of like a pariah. It's kind of like a something that no one talks about, because it was so it was so hard on people. It was kind of a PTSD. But I think that it takes 2 generations to tell the story, like the JFK, the Oliver Stone JFK. It took a while to tell stories about that or Vietnam. So it's about time to talk about the war and about Golda and to clear her name a little bit.
As I mentioned, you won an Oscar a few years ago. Congratulations for Skin. It was a short film. It focused on race and neo-Nazis. You clearly don't shy away from difficult topics. Why is it so important for you to address these tough topics?
Well, I'm coming from a country that's dealing all the time with raw and difficult subjects, and I grew up on films from the 70s when they dealt with hard subject. And it's, as a filmmaker, it's more interesting for me to arouse conversation, to go in there and talk about and do films that say something about the world we live in.
You, during your Oscar speech, mentioned you're the grandson of Holocaust survivors. How has that shaped your work?
Oh, tremendously. I think that, when you look at the Yom Kippur, these are people 30 years after the Holocaust. They walked with a PTSD from the war, thinking that everyone will diminish them. No one, nothing is sacred anymore. You walk with this DNA of this horrible, kind of like Holocaust. It shapes a lot of who you are, and obviously my filmmaking.
All right. Guy Nattiv, thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, the movie is out some places starting tomorrow night and for sure this weekend.
Yes.
Make sure to check it out. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.